Me, Aidan Kovacic, and Sophie Holtzman did an experiment on how the students in Mr. Murray's first period film class would answer questions and participate in class without an incentive, and when candy was being given to them for participation.
This week we talked about story structures. So I'm curious, who here is familiar with a nonlinear story structure? Who knows what that is? Okay, a couple of you.
We began by surveying the class and starting out with a chart of every student in the class and the number of questions being asked. And we marked off every time a student raised their hand for each question without any reason except for just general participation. Then after the class, we interviewed each student individually and asked what type of reward they would prefer that would help them participate more in class. If you were given an incentive for participating in class, would you participate more?
Yeah, definitely.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, it depends on what the reward is, you know? I mean, it would have to be enough to overcome my introvertedness.
Most students ended up saying candy, chocolate, food, and a lot of students ended up saying bonus points.
Oh, candy, probably.
I really like chocolate. Chocolate's cool.
Food. Candy. Bonus points? Probably bonus points.
But also, I think I'd rather have bonus points.
It ended up being more geared towards candy or a treat. The next day, we surveyed the same class, asked the exact same amount of questions as we did the day before, except this time for even raising their hands, not just getting a question right, but raising their hands, we threw candy at the people participating. While some people who generally participate more in class participate about the same amount of time and consistently raise their hands for each question, we also saw changes in that some people who didn't speak often in class, who had never answered a question the day before, ended up actually raising their hand multiple times to answer a question. We also ran into the unforeseen problem that some kids began working the system after a bit. 2 students actually began answering every single question or raising their hand to answer every single question and passing candy out to those who didn't answer questions. So this drew away from some students even raising their hand at all. Multiple students who had participated the day before didn't participate at all because they were being given access to the treat and the reward without participating.
During the experiment, we noticed that you were answering questions a lot more often and handing out the candy to people that weren't answering questions. Why is this?
So, the real answer is the only thing I liked in the pack were Twix. But also, there's a part of me who wants to say it's because I'm a great person. Really, that's not it. I just didn't like it. So.
During the experiment, I noticed that someone at your table was answering a lot of questions and passing out candy to everyone at his table. Did this influence your participation in the class period at all?
Yes.
Would you say that because of this you participated more or less?
Probably less, actually.
Due to passing out candy, the class was also very rowdy and talkative in comparison to the day before, and so it was harder for Mr. Murray to ask questions as the class was getting easily off track and excited with the candy. Though there were minor flaws in the experiment, overall it was obvious that a student having an incentive or a reward, in this case candy, was a strong source of encouragement for them to participate more in class and kept them more engaged. The students were actively listening and paying attention to the lesson being given before the question was answered, listening to the question being answered, and participating in class discussions with the teacher on opinionated questions and fact-based questions.